The message from space arrived on a quiet Tuesday. Humanity had been broadcasting signals for nearly a century, but this was different. This was a response. Admiral Hyun stood at the command center of Earth's orbital defense platform, watching. As the alien vessel emerged from the darkness beyond Pluto's orbit, the ship gleamed like polished obsidian, nearly 3 kilometers long. "All defense systems on standby," he ordered calmly. "No aggressive posturing." Earth had prepared for this moment. Since detecting the first unusual signals 30 years ago, the United Nations Space Command had quietly built defenses while publicly focusing on exploration and scientific missions. The alien ship transmitted again. Earth's quantum computers took only minutes to establish a basic translation matrix. "We are the Confederation of Allied Worlds. We come in peace." Within hours, a delegation from Earth was preparing to meet the aliens aboard a neutral station, hastily constructed between Earth and lunar orbit. Ambassador G, a veteran diplomat with a calm demeanor, led the human team. "Remember," she told her team, "we show respect but not weakness." The aliens called themselves the Confederation. 12. Species united under shared principles of expansion and trade. Most appeared humanoid, though with notable differences in coloration, height, and facial features. Their leader was a tall, bluish-skinned being named Ambassador Kovu. "Your world has been observed for some time," Kovu explained. "You have advanced quickly for such a young species." Ambassador G noticed something in his tone, a hint of condescension perhaps. "We're eager to establish friendly relations," she replied carefully. "Earth wishes to join the galactic community as equals." A slight ripple moved through the alien delegation. One member, with distinctive red markings and military bearing, made a sound that the translators couldn't process but seemed dismissive. Over the following weeks, more ships arrived. Most belonged to the Confederation, but one massive vessel commanded particular attention. Twice the size of any other ship, it moved with predatory grace into orbit around Mars. "The Kavari hegemony," explained Kovu, "the primary military power in our sector. They protect the Confederation's interests." Admiral Hyun didn't like the hesitation in Kovu's explanation. Intelligence reports indicated the Kavari functioned more as overlords than allies to the Confederation species. Captain Sun of the Kavari requested a meeting with Earth's military leadership. In the orbital conference room, the alien commander towered over the humans, his scaled skin shimmering. Under the lights, "Your species is remarkably advanced for having achieved spaceflight only 70 years ago," Sun said. "However, there are established protocols for new members of the galactic community." Admiral Hyun maintained a neutral expression. "We're eager to learn." "Good. The Kavari maintain order through strength. The first protocol is understanding your place." The negotiations continued for months. On the surface, they were cordial. Beneath, tensions grew. The Kavari demanded exclusive rights to mine the Kuiper Belt, claiming it was standard procedure for protective oversight of developing worlds. Earth's Security Council met in emergency session. "They're testing us," Admiral Hyun argued. "The mining rights aren't the real issue. They want to see if we'll surrender our sovereignty." Ambassador G agreed. "The other Confederation species have hinted they face similar treatment. The Kavari don't view us as equals." The Council voted unanimously to reject the Kavari demands. Earth's response was diplomatic but firm. The Kuiper Belt remained under Earth jurisdiction. The Kavari response came swiftly. Captain Sun's massive vessel moved to the edge of the Kuiper Belt and began scanning Earth's outposts. "A final opportunity," came the transmission from Captain Sun. "Remove your outposts or face consequences your species cannot imagine." Admiral Hyun activated Earth's defense grid. Hundreds of stealth satellites hidden throughout the solar system powered up their targeting systems. Earth wouldn't fire first, but they were prepared to respond. Ambassador G requested an emergency meeting with the Confederation Council. "The Kavari actions threaten peace between our worlds," she stated firmly. "Earth wishes no conflict, but we will defend our territory." Captain Sun entered the council chamber unannounced. "Perhaps a demonstration would clarify matters for the humans," he suggested. a controlled military exercise to establish mutual understanding. Admiral Hyun recognized the trap, but also saw opportunity. 3 vessels, he proposed. Against your battlecruiser, in neutral space observed by Confederation representatives. Sun's expression shifted to something resembling amusement. Agreed. Perhaps this will be educational for all involved. As the council adjourned, Ambassador Ji whispered to Admiral Hyun, "Are you certain this is wise?" Hyun watched Captain Sun's retreating form. "They believe we're children playing with technology we don't understand. It's time they learned otherwise." Earth's 3 ships hovered in the emptiness of space, far from any planets or moons. The vessels looked small and basic compared to the massive Kavari battlecruiser facing them. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Defiance, his expression calm but determined. "All systems check," his executive officer reported. "Neural interfaces online." Behind them, observers from 12 alien species watched from a safe distance. Most believed they were about to witness a quick and brutal lesson for the upstart humans. "The newcomers must learn their place," one alien diplomat whispered to another. "The Kavari have ruled this sector for 1,000 years." On the Kavari battlecruiser, Captain Sun surveyed the human vessels with obvious amusement. The ships were barely a quarter the size of his own. "They send toys against us," he remarked to his crew. "Record everything. This will serve as a training exercise for future encounters with primitive species." Ambassador Ji watched from the observation vessel, her hands clasped tightly together. She had argued against this demonstration, but Admiral Hyun had been insistent. "We cannot establish our position in the galactic community through words alone," he had told her. "Some truths must be demonstrated." Now, as the confrontation approached, she prayed his confidence was justified. The rules were simple. The engagement would last 30 minutes. No planet-killing weapons, no reinforcements. The objective was to disable, not destroy. The Kavari had agreed readily, seeing no risk to themselves. "Begin the exercise," came the announcement from the neutral observer. Captain Sun wasted no time. His ship's massive energy cannons charged, glowing with bright purple light. The beam shot across space, directly targeting the Defiance. The alien. Observers leaned forward, expecting to see the human vessel vaporized. Instead, the energy dissipated against an invisible barrier 100 meters from the ship's hull. "Quantum disruption field functioning perfectly," reported Lieutenant Day. On the Defiance, her fingers weren't touching controls. Instead, her neural interface translated thoughts to commands at near light speed. The human vessels moved with unexpected agility, breaking formation and approaching the Kavari cruiser from 3 different angles. "Interesting," Captain Sun said, his amusement fading slightly. "Target the engines of the lead vessel." Again the Kavari weapons fired. Again the human ships evaded or absorbed the attack. The vessels were moving in patterns that seemed impossible, changing direction faster than inertia should allow. "How? Are they compensating for the G-forces?" Sun's science officer asked in confusion. "No biological creature should survive such maneuvers." What the Kavari didn't know was that inside the human vessels, the crews lay in specialized fluid chambers, their bodies supported by adaptive pressure systems that allowed them to withstand forces that would kill most alien species. Captain Minho gave the order, "Execute Phase 2." From the bottom of each human ship, small objects detached, combat pods barely large enough for a single pilot. They accelerated toward the Kavari cruiser at speeds that made them nearly invisible to tracking systems. 3 pods reached the hull of the massive alien vessel. Sergeant June, leading the boarding team, activated his exosuit as his pod attached to the Kavari ship. The suit enhanced his strength and speed while protecting him from the vacuum of space. "Breaching now," he reported as specialized tools cut through the alien hull. Inside the Kavari ship, alarms blared. Captain Sun received reports of human soldiers moving through his vessel at impossible speeds. "How did they get aboard?" he demanded. "Where are they?" The answer came moments later as critical systems throughout the ship began shutting down. The humans weren't trying to kill the crew. They were systematically disabling the vessel. On the observation ship, the alien diplomats watched in stunned silence. "The humans are winning," one whispered in disbelief. Ambassador G allowed herself a small smile. "We never wanted war," she said to the Confederation representatives, "but we will not be subjugated." 22 minutes into the 30-minute exercise, Captain Sun faced an unthinkable reality. His mighty vessel was powerless. Life support, systems running on emergency backup, weapons offline. Through the ship's still-functioning communication system, Captain Minho's voice came through clearly. "This exercise is concluded. We have demonstrated our point." Captain Sun's scaled face darkened with rage. He pressed a hidden control on his command chair. "Emergency protocol authorized," he said. "All available Kavari vessels converge on these coordinates. The humans require a proper lesson." In the darkness of space beyond the exercise zone, 7 more Kavari warships appeared from hyperspace, weapons already charging. Captain Minho's expression remained calm as he received the report. "They've broken the terms," he said. "Admiral Hyun predicted this. Signal Earth. Activate the Sentinel network." The 7 Kavari warships approached with predatory grace, their weapons systems glowing with energy. On the observation vessel, the alien diplomats murmured in disapproval. "The Kavari have broken the terms," said one Confederation representative. This was to be a controlled exercise. Ambassador G's expression remained calm despite the danger. "So they have," she replied, tapping a small communication device on her wrist. "Admiral Hyun, the Kavari have escalated." Across the solar system, in Earth's orbital command center, Admiral Hyun received the message. He turned to his staff, nodding once. "The Kavari have acted exactly as expected," he said. "Activate the Sentinel network." Throughout the solar system, objects that had appeared to be simple asteroids or debris suddenly powered up. Earth had spent decades placing these stealth platforms in strategic positions, preparing for this very moment. Captain Sun smirked as his reinforcements surrounded the 3 human vessels. "Your demonstration is impressive, but now you face the true might of the Kavari. Surrender your vessels or be destroyed." Captain Minho responded calmly over the open channel. "You have violated the terms of our agreement. We gave you the opportunity to measure our capabilities honestly. You chose deception." Sun laughed. "And what will you do now, human? Your 3 ships cannot stand against 8. We won't be standing alone." The first indication something was wrong came when 2 of the Kavari warships suddenly lost power. Their lights flickered and died as invisible energy fields disrupted their systems. "What's happening?" demanded Sun, turning to his tactical officer. "Unknown energy signatures activating throughout the area," the officer replied, confusion evident in his voice. "They weren't there a moment ago." The Sentinel platforms, now fully active, moved into position. They weren't large or imposing, nothing like the massive Kavari warships. But their technology was decades ahead of what Earth had publicly revealed. On the Defiance, Lieutenant Day guided the neural interface system to its full potential. Unlike conventional pilots who relied on physical controls, she and her team directed their ships through pure thought, giving them reaction times measured in milliseconds. "Target their propulsion systems," ordered Captain Minho. "Disable, don't destroy." The 3 human ships moved with impossible precision, weaving between enemy fire. What made human ships truly special wasn't their weapons or shields, but how they were controlled. The Kavari and other species relied on physical interfaces that limited reaction times. Humans had bypassed this limitation. Inside the human vessels, the crews experienced combat differently. Their minds entered a shared consciousness through the neural network, each person seeing what the others saw, thinking as one while maintaining individual specialties. "They move as if they know our tactics before we implement them," reported a Kavari commander in growing alarm. He was not far from the truth. The human AI battle coordinator, interfaced with every crew member, predicted enemy maneuvers based on minute energy fluctuations and subtle movement patterns. Sergeant June and his boarding team had not withdrawn from Captain Sun's vessel. Instead, they had placed small devices throughout the ship. Now these devices activated, creating localized disruption fields that prevented the Kavari from coordinating with their fleet. The humans have some kind of jamming technology, Sandi realized too late. They're isolating our ships from each other. The Kavari had always relied on overwhelming force and superior technology. They had never faced an enemy who turned their own tactics against them. Lieutenant Day guided her vessel. In a maneuver that should have been physically impossible, the G-forces would have killed most alien species. Her ship spun on its axis while maintaining forward momentum, firing precision shots that disabled the weapon systems of 2 more Kavari ships. On the observation vessel, the alien representatives watched in stunned silence. What they had expected, to be a quick humiliation of a young species, had turned into something else entirely. "How long have the humans been preparing for this?" asked one diplomat. "Since we first detected your signals decades ago," Ambassador G answered honestly. "We hoped for friendship, but prepared for everything else." 3 more Kavari vessels lost power as the Sentinel platforms executed precisely targeted attacks against vulnerable systems. Captain Sun's flagship remained partially operational but isolated from his fleet. "This is impossible," Sun growled. "No species advances this quickly." Captain Minho's voice came through on all channels, directed not just to the Kavari but to all observers. "We did not want this demonstration, but you forced our hand. Humanity does not seek conflict. We seek equality and respect." In 23 minutes, 7 of the 8 Kavari vessels had been neutralized without a single destruction. The boarding parties had disabled critical systems rather than destroying them. No Kavari lives had been lost. Captain Sun stood on his bridge surrounded by human soldiers in exosuits moving with enhanced speed and strength. His mighty vessel, pride of the Kavari fleet, had been conquered by a species that barely had a century of spacefaring experience. "The exercise is concluded," Captain Minho announced. "Let this serve as our introduction to the galactic community." The Confederation Council chamber buzzed with urgent conversation. News of the confrontation between human forces and the Kavari fleet had spread quickly. Representatives from 12 species debated what this meant for the galactic balance of power that had remained stable for centuries. Ambassador G entered the chamber flanked by Captain Minho and Admiral Hyun. The room fell silent as they took their positions at the speaker's platform. "We come to address the events that transpired yesterday," Ambassador G began. What was meant to be a controlled demonstration became something more significant. The Kavari High Commander Rock stood from his seat, his scales flushed dark with anger. "The humans employed hidden weapons. They violated diplomatic protocols by concealing their true capabilities." Admiral Hyun stepped forward. "Just as you violated the terms of engagement by bringing reinforcements to what was agreed to be a limited exercise." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many species had suffered under Kavari dominance for generations but had lacked the military strength to challenge them. "What the humans demonstrated was more than weapons," observed the Trellan representative, her large eyes blinking thoughtfully. "It was a completely different approach to warfare." Captain Minho nodded. "Humanity does not believe bigger weapons win conflicts. We focus on speed, adaptability, and precision." Recordings of the battle played on large screens throughout the chamber. The Confederation representatives watched as human vessels moved with impossible agility, as boarding parties disabled rather than destroyed enemy systems, as the hidden Sentinel network neutralized a superior force without casualties. "Unknown projectiles approaching," warned the Kavari tactical officer. "Activating point defense." The Kavari ship fired rapid bursts of energy, trying to hit the tiny targets. But the pods moved erratically, each one guided by a pilot whose mind was directly connected to the controls. "Your neural interface technology is unlike anything we've encountered," said the veteran scientist, leaning forward with interest. "How do you compensate for the neural feedback loops that would kill most species?" "Human brains are uniquely adaptable," Admiral Hyun explained. "What would cause fatal synaptic overload in other species manifests as manageable sensory input for us." High Commander Rock slammed his fist on the table. "This changes nothing. The Kavari hegemony has dominated this sector for 1,000 years. One clever tactic does not make humans our equals. The chamber grew quiet as an elderly Kavari stood from the back row. Grand Marshal Dom, legendary among his people, moved slowly to the center of the room. For centuries, he had commanded the Kavari forces before passing leadership to the younger generation. I have studied the battle recordings, his voice rasped with age. The humans could have destroyed our vessels. Instead, they disabled them with minimal casualties. They showed restraint and precision. He turned to face High Commander Rock. We have grown complacent, relying on our size and strength. These humans have reminded us of something we once knew, that warfare is an art, not merely an exercise in destruction. The council chamber remained silent, surprised by the elder Kavari's words. Ambassador G stepped forward again. Earth does not seek dominance, we seek partnership, but we will not be subordinate to any species regardless of how long they have held power. Grand Marshal Dom approached the human delegation. Despite his age, he stood tall, towering over them. For 1,000 years, the Kavari have maintained order through strength. Now we face a choice: continue as we have, and face a costly conflict, or recognize that a new power has emerged. He turned to address the council. I propose that Earth be granted full membership in the Confederation, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. High Commander Rock hissed in disapproval, but other Kavari representatives nodded slowly. The battle recordings had made clear that forcing the humans into submission would come at a terrible price. There is wisdom in this, agreed the Trellin representative. Better to have humans as allies than adversaries. The council voted. Species that had existed in fear of Kavari reprisal now found courage in Earth's example. One by one, they supported the motion to recognize Earth as a full member of the galactic community. As the session concluded, Grand Marshal Dom approached Admiral Hyun privately. Your species surprised us. This rarely happens to beings as old as the Kavari. We hoped for peaceful first contact, Hyun replied. But humanity has learned through bitter experience to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. The ancient Kavari studied the human admiral. You attacked systems, not lives. You disabled rather than destroyed. This is not the approach of a conquering species. We have no desire to rule, Hyun confirmed, only to ensure we are not ruled by others. The marshal nodded slowly. I have commanded fleets for 700 years. In that time, I have learned to recognize a formidable opponent. The Kavari once believed as you do, that precision matters more than destruction. We forgot this wisdom. As news of the Council's decision reached Earth, celebrations began. Humanity had proven itself not just through strength, but through restraint, demonstrating that they belonged among the stars not as conquerors but as equals. Captain Minho returned to his ship, watching the stars through the viewport. Was this how you expected it would end? He asked Admiral Hyun. Not an end, Hyun replied. A beginning. 6 months after the confrontation with the Kavari fleet, Earth's first official embassy opened on Nexus Station, the central diplomatic hub of the Confederation. The embassy's main hall featured a simple display: 3 small models of the human vessels that had faced the Kavari alongside a piece of hull material from the Defiance. Admiral Hyun, now appointed as Earth's security advisor to the Confederation, stood beside Ambassador G as delegates from across the galaxy arrived for the formal reception. They come out of curiosity as much as diplomacy, G observed quietly. Hyun nodded. They want to see the species that challenged the Kavari and won. The Kavari themselves had changed in unexpected ways. After the confrontation, a shift occurred in their leadership. Grand Marshal Dom had emerged from retirement, advocating for reform within the hegemony. The younger, more aggressive commanders like Captain Sun had been reassigned to distant posts. Admiral Hyun, a deep voice rumbled. The Grand Marshal approached, moving with surprising grace for his age and size. Your training facilities are impressive. The Kavari leader had recently visited Earth's Space Force Academy as part of a new exchange program. What had surprised him most was not the technology, but the philosophy behind human military training. We believe in understanding conflict, not just winning it, Hyun replied. A wise approach. For too long we measured strength solely by destructive capacity. Across the room, Captain Minho was speaking with representatives from 3 smaller species that had previously existed under Kavari protection. Now they sought defense agreements with Earth instead. We don't offer the same arrangement the Kavari did, Minho explained. We believe in teaching defense, not just providing it. This is why we come to you, replied the Trellan diplomat. The Kavari kept us dependent. You offer partnership. In the 6 months since the confrontation, Earth had established training programs for numerous species. Human military advisors taught not advanced weapons technology, but strategy, adaptability, and unconventional thinking. On the observation deck above the reception, Lieutenant Day stood with several pilots from different species. They watched recordings of the battle that had changed the galactic power structure. The neural interface is the key, she explained. It's not the technology itself that makes it effective, but how it connects with the human mind. Our scientists say our brains would burn out from such connections, said a veteran pilot. That's where you need to adapt the approach to your own biology, Day replied. Humans don't have your sensory perception or natural agility. Each species has strengths that can be enhanced. This was the true revolution that Earth brought to the Confederation, not just new weapons or tactics, but a fundamentally different way of approaching problems. Where the Kavari had imposed uniformity, humans championed diversity and adaptation. In the council chambers of the Confederation, Ambassador G presented Earth's proposal for a new defensive alliance. Unlike the Kavari model of central control, Earth suggested cooperative defense where each species contributed based on their unique capabilities. The strength of the galaxy isn't in making everyone the same, she argued, but in finding ways for our differences to work together. Even the Kavari were changing. Under Grand Marshal Dom's guidance, younger officers trained alongside humans, learning the value of precision and restraint rather than overwhelming force. At the Space Force Academy on Earth, Kavari cadets struggled to adjust to human teaching methods. You want us to question orders? Asked one confused young officer. We want you to understand the reason behind orders, Sergeant June explained. A soldier who understands the objective can adapt when circumstances change. This philosophy spread throughout the Confederation. Species that had feared the Kavari for generations now found new confidence. Not because they suddenly possessed superior weapons, but because they learned to use what they had more effectively. As the reception concluded, Admiral Hyun took a moment alone on the embassy's balcony, looking out at the vast space station that housed representatives from hundreds of worlds. Was this outcome part of your plan all along? Ambassador G asked, joining him. Hyun smiled slightly. We prepared for conflict but hoped for something better. This is better. The Kavari could have destroyed us if they'd known our true capabilities from the beginning. And we could have destroyed them during the confrontation, Hyun replied. Both sides chose restraint when it mattered. That's why this works. Below them, human officers mingled with alien diplomats and military personnel. Knowledge and ideas flowed freely. The galactic order was transforming, not through conquest or domination, but through mutual respect and shared purpose. The moment we proved our military dominance wasn't when we disabled their ships, Hyun reflected. It was when we chose not to destroy them. G nodded. That's the difference they didn't expect. The true strength of humanity isn't in our weapons or our neural interfaces. No, agreed Hyun. It's knowing when not to use them.